Hi and welcome to a new video on my channel. I'm Andrea and today I have a different video for you. Well, it's only a little bit different. I will show you how to make this amigurumi flower, but first I want to tell you a little bit about the story behind this and why I made it up in the first place. So as you can see, this is a fidget toy. It's quite mesmerizing and it's made with chenille yarn, so it's very easy to make. The reason why I chose to make the sunflower is, you know, of course, what's happening in Ukraine right now. And I wanted to help. I can donate some of the money that I make, but that's not a lot. So I decided to make a pattern, and I can sell the pattern and donate 50% of the proceeds from that pattern, which is this sunflower toy. The sunflower is the national flower of Ukraine, and the sunflower is also a symbol for invisible disability. So I will be donating 50% of anything I make from the sale of this pattern on any platform to an organization that helps disabled people escape from Ukraine right now when it's very dangerous for them to be there. So that's my hope. And anything I make from this video will also go to this organization. I linked it in the cards and I also linked it in the description below if you want to check it out. There's a fundraiser happening right now and I will donate to this fundraiser because they accept PayPal, but there are other organizations that need your help as well, and they also help people with disabilities. So this will be an ongoing donation on my part. At the end of the week, I will add up anything that I make and I will send 50% to this organization or another organization that I can find that helps disabled people in Ukraine. So please follow along with the video, and at the end you should have a nice sunflower fidget toy for your own that you can give away or play with for yourself. So let's get started. To make the large version of this pattern, the flower that I'm holding in my hands, you will need to use chenille yarn, like this one. There are 3 different colors, and you can check out how much yarn you need for each color in different weights of yarn. So you can make this flower as big or as small as you want to, depending on the yarn you choose. For this kind of chenille yarn, with 120 meters per 100 grams, you will also need to use the 5mm hook, or 4.5 or 4 depending on your tension. For this demonstration I'll be using cotton yarn. This is a size 3 yarn and a 3mm hook that is a bit thinner than the hook required for this yarn. You will also need a tapestry needle, at least 1 stitch marker, and a pair of scissors to finish off. You will need some amigurumi stuffing for the flower and the stem as well. You don't need so much for the flower because it's supposed to be quite flat, but you will need a lot for the stem. In the pattern I give you instructions on how to make 2 sizes of petals. You have the small petals and the larger ones. The small ones are cuter and take up less yarn, so it's your choice which one you want to make. I recommend making 12 small petals or 12 large petals, but if you want them to cover the same space, you want to fold them up a bit when you sew them down to the side of the flower so that the base covers the same width. I will just demonstrate how to make the small version, and the big version is worked in the same manner. You just have a different amount of stitches. We begin with a magic ring and put 5 single crochet stitches in it. So we make a loop with the tail in front, insert the hook, pick up a loop, chain 1, and then we make the 5 single crochet stitches using the yarn under, yarn over technique. So like this, we insert the hook, put the yarn under the hook, and pick up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. This is the first stitch. Make sure you don't make it too tight because it's going to be difficult to work into it afterwards. And then we have 4 more. Then we pull on the tail to close the magic ring. And continue working as if to make amigurumi. You can put a stitch marker in the first stitch here. So we will make 1 increase in each of the 5 stitches. That's 10 stitches on row 2. The first stitch is very difficult to make, so I leave a longer loop until I can insert the hook and then pull back on it to close it up. Yarn under, pick up a loop, then yarn over, pull through 2, and repeat in the same stitch. You can put the stitch marker in the first stitch there, or you can count. Now, row 3, we have 10 single crochet stitches all around. I will put the stitch marker in. This way I don't have to count. Next row, we have 1 single crochet and move the stitch marker. Two increases, so we put 2 single crochet stitches in each of the next 2 stitches. Then we have 3 single crochet stitches. Two increases. And 2 single crochet stitches. Next up we have 3 rows of 14 single crochet stitches, and I will work these off camera. After the 3 rows, we can take care of this tail on the inside. Make sure that the tip is very tight here, so that the end will not escape. And then you can cut off, leaving 2-3 centimeters of yarn inside the petal. I just snip it and leave it there inside. Now we have 1 row with decreases, so we have 1 single crochet. Then we have 2 decreases. These invisible decreases we work by going through the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So we have 1 front loop, 2nd front loop, yarn under, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. Same with the next 2 stitches. So there are no holes left behind. Then we have 3 single crochet stitches. Two more decreases. And 2 single crochet stitches. Then we take out the stitch marker. We don't need it anymore. We make 2 more single crochet stitches. This is a short row in the pattern. And we notice how the petal wants to stay flat. This is the shape. So to lock this in, we will make stitches across this edge by going through the front and the back stitch. So we insert the hook into the next stitch, and the last stitch from the previous row, the one we just worked This is a bit tricky, but we also use this in the fidget toy pattern that I also have on this channel. So if you want a zoomed in look at that in chenille yarn, you can check out the other video. Yarn under and pull up loop. This is more difficult in cotton yarn than it is in chenille yarn. And then yarn over, pull through 2. Again, front stitch and the back stitch. Yarn under, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And 3 more times. And this is the finished petal. We leave enough yarn to be able to sew the petal into the side, and then we cut off the rest and we pull the end through the last loop to secure it. This is the finished petal and you need 12 of them. Here are my 12 petals, so we can get started on the middle part. In the pattern I recommend that you use brown yarn so that you can see your stitches. I don't have brown cotton yarn, so I'll be using this black one. I hope you can see what I'm doing, but the most important part is to follow along with the spoken instructions. In the pattern, this is the part 2 or middle of the flower. We begin with color 2 and the magic ring. We will work in a spiral, even though we will be making some different stitches that are regularly used in amigurumi, specifically bobble stitches. The first row consists of 7 single crochet stitches worked in the magic ring. Just like for the petals, we begin with a loop with the tail in front. We insert the hook, pick up a loop, chain 1, yarn under, pick up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 to make the first single crochet stitch, and then 6 more. Then we pull on the tail to close the magic ring and start working in a spiral as for amigurumi. We make 14 stitches on the next row, which means 7 increases. So we have 2 stitches in each of the 7 stitches in this previous row. Put a stitch marker in the first stitch. This is what it looks like at the end of the row. We have a nice flat circle. You may be used to making 6 single crochet stitches and multiples of 6, but that will create a dome and we want this flower to be flat. So make sure you read the instructions carefully, or when you count that you have multiples of 7 stitches. For row 3, we start adding bubbles. We have 1 increase in the first stitch. Put the marker back. That's 2 stitches in the first stitch, and then we have a bubble. You can make different types of bubbles. This is your choice here. I made bubbles with just 3 double crochet stitches because I think more would be too much. But depending on your yarn, you can add more stitches to the bubble. And to make the bubble, you yarn over. Insert the hook into the space where you make the stitch. That's next stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2. Repeat this 2 more times. So yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Once more. If you want to, you can add more here, or finish the bubble by yarning over and pulling through all the loops on the hook. This is a tall stitch, but when you work the regular rows of single crochet stitches, it will just bunch up and show up on the front of the work as a nice rounded bubble. We repeat this all around, so we have 1 increase, 1 bubble until the end of the row. I will see you back at the end of the row. At the end of the row, you should have 21 stitches, 7 of which are bubbles. Next row, we have 2 single crochet stitches and 1 increase, and we repeat that 7 times. First, we work into the single crochet stitches from the previous row. Then we have the increase in the top of the bubble. So you want to look at the bubble and find the loop on the right if you're a right-handed crocheter, or on the left if you're left-handed. So it's the loop that looks like it's before the bubble as you work. You put 2 single crochet stitches in there, because the next one is a single crochet. So we put 2 single crochet stitches and an increase. Continue like this around. Next row we have a different repeat. We have 1 single crochet stitch. Move the marker. 1 bubble in the next single crochet stitch. One single crochet stitch. And 1 increase. We repeat this sequence until the end of the row. So we have 1 single crochet stitch, 1 bubble, 1 single crochet stitch and an increase. I will meet you back at the end of the row. At the end of this row you should have 35 stitches, and we start row 6, where we have 1 single crochet, 1 increase and then 3 single crochet stitches all around. 1 single crochet, move the marker, 1 increase in the bubble, and then 3 single crochet stitches. Continue like this all around and I will meet you back at the end of the row. At the end of this row you should have 42 stitches, and we continue with a row of bubbles. Here's the repeat. 1 bubble, put the stitch marker in it, then 2 single crochet stitches, then we have 1 bubble, one increase, and 1 single crochet stitch. If the bubbles don't want to stay to the front, you can push them from the back and bring them to the front of the work. So again we have 1 bubble, 2 single crochet stitches, 1 bubble, 1 increase and 1 single crochet stitch. Continue working the repeat and I will see you back at the end of the row. At the end of this row you should have 49 stitches, and now we have a simple row. We have 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch, 1 increase and then 5 single crochet stitches. Don't forget to move the marker. So that's 1 single crochet stitch, then an increase, and then 5 single crochet stitches. If it's easier for you, you can add stitch markers at the beginning of each repeat so that you don't lose your place and know where you need to put the increases to get the rounded shape. We continue like this all around. 1 single crochet stitch, 1 increase, 5 single crochet stitches, and I will meet you back at the end of the row. At the end of this row, you should have 56 stitches and something that looks almost flat and nicely rounded. Next we have another row with bubbles. We have 3 single crochet stitches. Remember to move the marker. Then we have 1 bubble, one single crochet, 1 increase and 1 single crochet, and then the last bubble. We repeat this all around 6 more times. So we have 3 single crochet stitches, 1 bubble, 1 single crochet stitch, 1 increase, 1 single crochet stitch, and 1 bubble. I will see you back at the end of the row. At the end of this row you should have 63 stitches, and we have 1 more row of increases, and then we can start decreasing. Row 10 has a simple repeat sequence. We start with 3 single crochet stitches. Then we have an increase and then 5 single crochet stitches. Repeat this all around, so 3 single crochet stitches, 1 increase, 5 single crochet stitches. And then I will meet you back at the end of the row. At the end of this row you should have 70 stitches, and then we have the last row in color 2, which consists of 7 repeats of 1 single crochet stitch, 1 decrease, again using the invisible decrease by going through the front loops only of the next 2 stitches, and 7 single crochet stitches. So again, just for clarity, 1 single crochet stitch, 1 decrease, 7 single crochet stitches. Repeat the sequence all around until you reach the end of the row, and I will meet you there. Now we are done with color 2 and we will be switching to color 3. I've decided to use a different green because the other one is too bright. To change colors, we'll use my method, where you work in the back loops of 2 stitches. And if you want to see in detail how to do this, I have a separate video that I will link in the cards, in which I show you how to do this color change. So first off, we pick up the new color and we make a slip stitch in the back loop of the next stitch with the new color. Then we make 1 more slip stitch in the back loop of the next stitch with this new color. And then we continue working as usual. When we come back, we will work over the front loops as well. So there will be an invisible transition here. To see this in more detail, please check out the separate video. So now we're ready to start part 3, which is the back of the flower. Row 1 of part 3 is also a decrease row. So we have 5 single crochet stitches. And don't forget to put the stitch marker in the first stitch. Then we have 1 decrease and 2 single crochet stitches. This is the repeat sequence that we do all around, so with 5 single crochet stitches, 1 decrease and 2 single crochet stitches. I'll meet you back at the end of the row. When you reach the end of the row, I have the decrease left and the 2 single crochet stitches. I want to show you how to do that. So the decrease is worked as always in the front loops, and the next 2 stitches we work as usual, except now we insert the hook under both the loops of the stitch below and the slip stitch. Draw up a loop and yarn over pull through 2 to finish the stitch, and the same with the next stitch. In my case, you can see the transition a little bit because this yarn is thinner than the one I used previously for the black part. But normally, if you use the same weight of yarn, you should not have any visible stitches here. On this row, at the end, you should have 56 stitches. And now we begin the front part with the sepals, which are the leaf-like structures at the back of the flower. For this row, we'll be making all the stitches in the front loops, because on the next row, we will be working in the back loop in the stitches that we skipped. So first we have 1 single crochet stitch in the front loop and put the stitch marker in. Then we skip 2 stitches, and in the front loop of the next stitch we put 2 double crochet stitches, one extended double crochet stitch. To make the extended double crochet stitch, we yarn over, insert the hook, pull up a loop, chain 1, yarn over pull through 2, yarn over pull through 2. Then we make a picot with 2 chains. So we chain 2, and we insert the hook in the back bump of the first chain and slip stitch. Then in the same stitch we put 1 extended double crochet stitch and 2 double crochet stitches. Then we skip 2 and do this 2 more times. So we have 1 single crochet stitch in the front loop, skip 2 and make the sepal. So we repeat this 4 times. When you have 4 done, for the next one we skip 3 single crochet stitches to make the next sepal. Next we make 3 sepals with the regular distance, so we skip 2. And for the last sepal, again you have to skip 3. You can do it at the beginning or at the end, however it's easier for you. In the pattern I put it at the beginning, but you can choose where you want to do the skip 3 instead of skip 2. Now you can slip stitch into the first single crochet stitch or just work in the back loop of the previous row to make the next row. Just make sure you get the correct stitch. So if you skip 3, now you skip 2 and work into the back loop of that stitch. The next row also has decreases, so we have 5 single crochet stitches and 1 decrease, repeated 7 times around. That's 1 in the back loop, and where we have skipped stitches we can work through both loops. And where we only have back loops, we work through those. And the decrease, of course, if you don't have front loops, will happen through the back loops. It doesn't matter very much here that the decrease is invisible, just do what you can. We repeat this 5 single crochet stitches, 1 decrease all around, and I will meet you back at the end of the row. Once we reach the end of the row, it's time to start sewing the petals. So first we put the live loop on the stitch marker and set aside the working yarn. Then we take the tapestry needle and one of the petals and we start sewing. We will be sewing here at the intersection between the green and the brown, or between color 2 and color 3. So first we put the yarn through the tapestry needle, and then we go back and forth through this side. Coming back up through the base of the petal. And then going back into the side. And then back up. You can go back and forth along the base of the petal. And when you're done, you can weave in the end or leave it on the inside. I will secure it with a back stitch. For chenille yarn you don't need to do this because it will not come out. And then leave the end on the inside. Take the next petal and do this all around. You don't want to overlap them, but you want to sew them so that one base is next to the other. So there are no gaps in between the petals. So I'll meet you back when the sewing is finished. When you're done sewing, you should have something like this. I had to go in and add one more petal. On the big flower I only needed 12, so make sure you have enough. Just don't overlap them on the sides here. The number of petals might change for you depending on how big your stitches are, how tightly you work, or the thickness of the yarn itself. So now that this is finished, you will have a lot of ends here that you can leave inside, and you can bring out the middle end here that you will use to sew down the middle of the flower so that it doesn't pop out like this. If you want to, you can leave it like this, or you can sew it down when we finish the back. We pick up the loop and continue working in pattern in part 3. For row 4 we have 5 single crochet stitches and 1 decrease repeated all around. These last few rows are going to be a bit difficult to make because you have to decrease in a quite flat shape, but take your time and work slowly, and don't forget to move your stitch markers. I will see you back at the end of the row. At the end of this row you should have 42 stitches. And next row we have 4 single crochet stitches and 1 decrease, repeated 7 times. Next row we have 3 single crochet stitches and a decrease, repeated 7 times. Next row we have 2 single crochet stitches and 1 decrease, repeated 7 times. At the end of this row you should have 21 stitches, and you can start stuffing, or you can make one more row and then stuff then. I will do it now. You don't want to stuff too much. You just want to put enough that the flower keeps its shape, leaving this tail out while you do this. And try to stuff on the sides of the flower, closer to the petals, not so much in the middle. Now we can continue with the next row, where we have 1 single crochet stitch and 1 decrease all around. I will meet you back at the end of the row. And now we're almost at the end. On the next row we have 6 decreases and 2 single crochet stitches, so that in the end we have 8 stitches per row. Now we can take this end and use it to sew the front to the back by going through the back loops of these stitches and coming out in the middle of the front. Now on the back you can continue to work in rows in a spiral by making 8 stitches per row. You don't need to use the stitch marker anymore, just keep going around and around and then stuff as you go along. Working right here is the most difficult part, but once you have made the first row it will all get easier. You keep going like this in a spiral and add some stuffing and stuff it in with your hook. Once the stem grows a bit, about 5 centimeters or 2 inches, just keep stuffing. Make sure it's solid when you stuff it. I will continue working on the stem and I will come back to you when it's finished. Keep working like this until you have a long enough stem for your flower so that you can hold it comfortably in your hand, or until it is long enough for the person you're going to give it to. If you're going to give this flower to a person with smaller hands, you can make the stem shorter. In the pattern for the chenille yarn, I mentioned that you should make about 20 rows to make the stem long enough, but depending on your yarn, you're going to need to make a longer or shorter stem. To finish it off, first we have to cut the yarn and leave a tail that we can use to close up the gap. We pull the end through the last loop and put it through the eye of the tapestry needle. And then we go in a spiral, only in the front loops, and working from the outside towards the inside. We pick up the next front loop, and then the next one, from the front towards the middle. And after we reach the last stitch, we pull to close up the gap. After the gap is closed, you can weave in the end by going through the stem back and forth 3 times. Or you can just weave it in one direction and hide it in the middle of the stem. Then cut off the excess and you're ready to play with the flower. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you have the possibility, please donate to the organizations that are helping disabled people flee from the war in Ukraine. Please subscribe if you want to know when I publish more videos, and you can also subscribe to my emails. I put a link in the cards and in the description. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!